Speaker. And could you explain what you mean when you say that our Department of Education is going to be, and I'm just reading here, shall submit interpretations and directives? What interpretations and directives, what interpretations and directives are going to be coming from the Department of Education that our Department of Education is going to have to further interpret?
Representative Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it's very usual for the Federal Department of Education to send their interpretations and directives from the Federal Department of Education to our Department of Education. I describe those as guidance documents, and that's very common. So all that we're requiring is that those guidance documents be sent to the appropriate committee chairman here in the General Assembly.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you. So just to clarify, our Department of Education receives guidance documents from the Federal Department of Education to make sure that it's in line with all of the Civil Rights Act and all of these other things. You're saying that the guidelines that the federal government sends to the Department of Education need also be sent to these respective committees, not that the Tennessee Department of Education puts their own interpretation on what the guidelines is and then sends that to the committee. Is that correct?
Representative Slater.
That is partially correct. The interpretation and the directives, the interpretation of federal law is determined by the Federal Department of Education. When they make those determinations, they send those guidance documents then to our Tennessee Department of Education. This bill simply requires our Tennessee Department of Education to send those interpretations and directives from the Federal Department of Education onto the appropriate committee chairs in the General Assembly.
Representative Pearson.
Okay, I just want to make sure of this one thing just really clearly. The Tennessee Department of Education is not going to look at the interpretations of guidance from the Federal Department of Education, alter them in any way before sending it to the respective committees.
Representative Slater.
I would certainly hope that our department would not do that. One of the reasons for us to require this is so we as policymakers, we can be sure that those interpretations and directives from the Federal Department of Education are sent directly to us so that we can take a look at what the federal government is saying related to education policy.
Representative Pearson.
Gotcha. And the Department of Education will still be responsible for following the guidelines federally. This is just so that we will all be on the same page for what the federal guidelines are, correct?
Representative Slater.
This bill does not address or change in any way the responsibilities of the Tennessee Department of Education.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you so much, sponsor, for answering the questions. And with that clarity, I believe I'll be able to support this. I think it is so imperative that we do ensure alignment of information, but also that we make sure that our Department of Education is not being pushed or forced in any way to do something antithetical to what federal law is as it relates to protecting all of the rights of our students. So thank you so much.
Any further